Remembered and your eyes was, yeah. And over the years, I can't tell you how many people she's coached, because you can really coach people when you've done it. You can know stuff and you can't coach. You can talk about it, but you can't coach someone to results because you've never been there. You can't take somebody place you've not been. Energy is a place that I've more than been, right? And I want to make sure that you have even more. I want to make it so that it's as effortless as possible in the future, so you're not burnt out from it, so this becomes a sustainable experience. How do you make it sustainable? Create the base. How do you make it sustainable? Challenge it. Once you got a base, you challenge and grow. How do you do it? Then you got to celebrate and reward yourself for making these great rewards, and that celebration enhances your base, because you feel better and stronger, and you want to do even more good things. You want to eat better. You want to play better. I mean, when you start working out and you start to get into it, you love it. You love it. And then your base gets even stronger, so you can take on a bigger challenge in life. And sure enough, you reward yourself and celebrate some more. And it becomes how the rich get richer, how the happy get happier, how the healthy get healthier, and the poor get poorer, and the depressed get more depressed, and the unhealthy get more unhealthy. It's momentum. Today is that process of momentum. My goal is for you today to have more certainty. Certainty that you have the answers that can guide you, and that there will be challenges in your environment. There are going to be environmental challenges. There are going to be all kinds of things you'll face, but whatever it is, you can handle it. And I'm hoping that as a result of today, you'll not only make a difference in yourself, but you'll own this so much that you won't have to lecture anybody. They'll come to you and go, oh God, you have so much more energy. You look so much better. You lost this. How'd you do it? And you'll be able to say, let me tell you. And you will be a person who's a force for good that'll pass it on to other people. So my goal today is to plant seeds so that you not only get this, but this spreads to other people. The power or the gift of alkalinity. For short, we call it Go Green. Go Green, baby. What this program is about is energy. If you're gonna have energy, you have to understand that there's a delicate balance in your body called the acid-alkaline balance. And I'm sure many of you have heard the term pH many times in your life. But usually you might hear it about a hair product or something of that nature, unless you were studying your body a little bit. But just as your body has to regulate its temperature, ideally at what temperature? 98.6, right? Too much variance either way of that, it affects your health, doesn't it? Your natural body temperature going there. You get up to 104, you got some real serious problems. Well, as important as your body temperature is, not the external temperature, but the body temperature that you're able to maintain consistently, there's another number that's equally important, maybe even more, and that is the acid-alkaline balance within your body. The pH balance, as it's called. And there's a scale that measures how acidic to how alkaline any substance or environment is. And that scale's right here in front of you, and you can see that scale goes basically from 0, which is burning holes through something, to 14, which is very alkaline. 7 is neutral. Now, all the different parts of your body have a different need for acid or alkalinity, but the vast majority, and the most important one, the blood, has to be slightly alkaline. Slightly alkaline. Now, that alkalinity is 7.36, and much variance from that, and you got some challenges in your blood. Now, you can measure that directly with tests, but you can also measure your urine, or you can also measure your saliva. They're not as totally accurate as the blood is, but they're things you can easily do. Once you start seeing your pattern, you're gonna know what's going on. And if you're in a position where your blood or your urine, saliva is the least accurate, is moving you into the acid stage, you know that your body is starting to break down. Now, when we say acid pH, when you hear that term, acid pH or alkaline pH, technically all it really means is when you're looking at atoms, you've got neutrons, you've got protons, and you've got electrons. All you gotta know is when it's acid, it's saturated with protons. When it's alkaline, there's lots of electrons, and those electrons have the impact of creating an environment in which oxygen can be very rich. They also are that alkaline environment is what makes those red blood cells have a negative charge that makes them bounce off of each other so they don't stick together, so they flow through your body and you get the oxygen that you need. Also, it's very difficult in a highly oxygenated environment, a non-acid environment, for microorganisms to grow in mass. They stay checked, they stay balanced when you're fully oxygenated. But when your bloodstream gets acid, it's like putting out the pollution and wondering why the rats show up. So alkalinity has got to be a major focus, and it's very easy to get yourself to stay alkaline, but you got to think the power of alkaline, and the short term we have for that is go green. If you're overweight, How many of you here have worked out really hard but still can't seem to get those last 10 or 15 pounds or 5 pounds away? How many have had this experience? Raise your hand. Say aye. A lot of people say, oh, it's my metabolism. Well, that would be true to some extent. But a lot of people work out like crazy. They still don't seem to be getting the result. When your body is extremely acidic, you don't get as much oxygen. When you don't get as much oxygen, everything slows down, including the metabolism, even though you're working out. In addition, as you work out, if you work out hard and you're working out in an anaerobic way, you're building even more what? Who knows? Even more acid. So a lot of people are actually, the body then says, wait a second, we got to retain more water here to protect it, and we got to get these acids away from the critical organs of the body. So we're going to retain fat, put it in the fat until the body has time and has enough energy again where we can push it in the bloodstream and excrete it again. We can get rid of these wastes. So fat actually protects you. A lot of people, by the way, are in much worse shape when they're skinny than when they're fat, when they're toxic, because the people that are overweight very often have more of a buffer to deal with some of those acids. By the way, overweight and underweight are still acid problems. The only difference is when you get very acid, some of you have a genetic tendency that as you get over acid, your system excretes the water rapidly to try to get rid of it. And in that acid environment, these microbes like yeasts grow like crazy and they consume your nutrients. So as a result, you don't get the nutrients, you keep feeding them, and you're in a position where you're saying, why can't I put on any weight? Some of you, your genetic tendency in this environment is to store fat quickly to protect yourself. You have the same acidic environment, and the animals inside you, these microorganisms, are eating your sugars, as an example. So you still need sugar. You're not assimilating it, so you want to eat more. So you keep eating more and more, never getting the nutrients you need. You're starving for nutrients because you're setting up a population of microorganisms in your body that you're feeding. They got to be cleansed out. And the way to cleanse them out is alkalize. In an alkaline environment, you're going to have rich oxygen, and they will not subsist in that environment. Cancer cells don't even do well in a highly oxygenated environment. They don't live in that kind of environment. They live in an environment where there's no oxygen or very limited oxygen or lower levels of oxygen. That's what makes them grow. So if you want to know the consequences, the first thing you can think of is if you're really over fat, think of I'm over acid. If you feel like you're fat, I'm over acid. If you will alkalize like crazy, and the way I'm going to show you in this principle, you'll lose weight so fast it'll make your head spin, and your mind will be blown. Because how come I've held all this time? Because once the acid's out, you don't need to retain the fat to protect you, and your body will let go of the fat. But remember, if you keep dealing with the cause but not the source, nothing changes long term. This will really be encouraging to many of you. Too much acid decreases the oxygen affinity for hemoglobin in the blood. It creates free radical damage. It slowly attacks and eats away at the smooth muscle tissues and the inner walls of arteries and veins. It becomes more difficult to control high blood pressure when you're acidic like this. It disrupts the lipid and fatty acid metabolism. It increases the likelihood of cellular mutations. As I've already described, cells mutate as a result. Electrolyte activity is impaired. It decreases your energy reserves. And it often, allows the binding of cholesterol, the heavy metals. So now you don't just have a cholesterol problem, you have these toxins that are stuck in your system simultaneously. How do we balance all this out? Number one, this is the principle. From now on, you want to measure your alkalinity on a regular basis. Get a little pee strip or get a little element, and on a regular basis, check how you're doing and see what the pattern is. Because the blood doesn't lie. And urine will be the next best element. It won't lie, and that's probably what most of you will end up using, or you'll use, the saliva strips. But it's very easy. You'll know the color after a while. You click it, takes 2 seconds. You go to the restroom, click it 2 seconds, and you'll know where you stand. And if you are acid, you want to take immediate, massive action to what? To what? Now, what does that mean? Well, first of all, when you have a lot of alkalinity, you're going to have this oxygen, you're going to have electrical charges. You ever heard about alkaline batteries? Do they last longer or less than other batteries? Which one? Do you ever see a battery when it dies and won't work anymore? What happens? You get battery acid coming out of the side, don't you? A battery can't do the charging when it comes to acid. The alkalinity, it's the right balance in that lets it keep going and going and going. Well, that's what keeps me going. That's what's going to keep you going, is alkalinity. Now, how do we get there? So easy. Go green. 2 things make you alkaline. Number one thing that's going to get you there is green plants, green live foods. They have an enormous amount of alkalizing capacity within them. And when you think about your life and your diet, You want to think, you know what? I want to make sure that I'm making sure, ideally, about 70% of my diet is more alkaline. Now, greens aren't the only ones that'll do it. Ideal foods for alkaline forming and life-giving, I give you a whole list. Almonds are a great little snack you can have. Carrots, dates, avocados. Avocados, here's a fat that's a great fat. Avocados should be a regular part of your life. It's a fantastic fat. They're great for you, and they'll also keep your blood sugar stabilized. You won't have those ups and downs of being starving. Avocados are fantastic for you, but they're also alkaline. Limes, coconuts, celery, cucumbers, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, green beans, broccoli. And you can see the list goes on and on and on. Mostly live foods, the most alkaline foods for the most part are greens. Greens are some of the most potent ones that you have. Secondly, you want to avoid acid-forming foods which are devoid of life. So pork and veal and beef and chicken and turkey and eggs, shrimp and lobster. You go, Tony, you just took away my entire meals. What I said is you want a ratio just like water. What's the ratio you'd ideally have? 70% alkalinity. So you're going to have your lobster, if that's what you're going to do, which, again, that's more toxic amongst the fishes that you can have because it's on the bottom of the ocean where all the wastes drop down to. But if you're going to have it and make sure you got a great, huge salad, and that's the majority of what you're eating, some vegetables, some elements of that, and then you have your lobster. You don't have to give up everything. All you want to do is make sure you're cleansing, not clogging, and alkalizing, not creating acid. How many follow that? Say aye. So bread creates acid. So make sure if you're going to have that bread, that there's going to be enough greens in your diet that are going to help balance it out. That's all you got to do. Or make it that one day out of a week, or that 1 or 2 or 3 days out of a month where you're zagging and you're going to enjoy yourself, and then you're going to cleanse yourself. How many follow the difference here? Say aye. How many think that might be doable? Say aye. So you want to avoid the acid foods in a ratio that I described. You want to have the ideal foods that are alkaline, and you want to supplement your diet with quality greens. Quality greens. And the last thing that you can do that can alkalize is really simple, and it should be the habit for everybody here. When you wake up in the morning, first thing you're doing besides breathing is doing what? First thing you want to do with that water, put some lemon in it. Because lemon will alkalize that water immediately. Right? And you can get lemon anywhere. You can be at a hotel, you can be anywhere. You say, man, I'm getting acid. Call downstairs, cut a lemon in half, squeeze it in, you're ready to rock and roll. Any restaurant you go, you can always get lemon. You go to a bar, you can get lemon. You can always alkalize with lemon water. And you can make the lemon water warm like a tea and it'll taste good, or you can just drink it as regular water and it makes water more flavorful. You know, after a while, you're not going to want any of the soda pop and the other things that were creating acid for you before. So making sure you put in lemon water is number one. Number two is you got to get yourself in a position where you have the greens in your diet. Wheatgrass is one of the greatest sources. Sage and I start every day. First thing we do, get up, boom, we're breathing. We got our rebounder over here. We're drinking our fluids. And we're having some water with some lemon. We're having a green drink. If we can have, we have a lot fresh green drink right then and there with wheatgrass. We have wheatgrass, and we'll have like a cucumber drink. And we'll just drink it. It's like a tonic. And immediately, any acids that you accumulated overnight, whatever, are starting to be flushed out. And then, ideally, you're not going to find wheatgrass everywhere always. If you can, it's wonderful. But you want to get a great product. And we manufacture a product that we've manufactured for some time. And what it has is a whole series of the most concentrated alkalizing forms. And it has something called MSM in it. MSM is in all the parts of your body, cells of your body. It's when you go to an orange orchard and you have that smell, the smell comes from MSM. It's absolutely critical as an ingredient, and it's within the greens. So it doesn't taste terribly good, but when you mix it with your greens, and when you mix it with some lemon, I should say, you can take that little powder with you anywhere, and you can alkalize. So we tend to alternate drinking water with some greens, water with some greens, water with some greens throughout the day. And the green water you're taking counts as part of the water that you're taking for the half of your body weight in ounces in a day. How many feel like this is something you could absolutely do? Now, you're gonna make sure whatever you eat that you alkalize. You wanna make sure that it's alive. You wanna make sure ideally there's some green. So you can do it in the form of a green drink, you can do it in the form of wheatgrass, you can do it in the form of foods that have that green in them. And again, if you test, you're gonna know. And your blood doesn't lie. If it's acid, you are aging. Write that down. Acid equals aging. Acid equals aging. Because what acid does is it burns through time, through your body, and breaks you down. It can break down even the DNA within our bodies. That's what it is. Think of what you see that happens to a battery as it ages, as acid begins to take over. And that's what happens. If you want to have alkaline level of energy, like an alkaline battery, you got to alkalize. It's that simple. Write down one more note so you know. Sugar equals acid. It is. Sugar equals acid. If you want to know what creates acid, the more sugar. I used to teach, for example, for many years of my life, and it was very effective for me at a young age in my life, to start your morning with fruit. I taught it for years. If you read my book, Unlimited Power, that was it. And that came from the work that I did with Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. And it made sense because you were breaking a fast with a food that was mostly what? Water, which is fantastic. So it's light. Does fruit help cleanse your body, yes or no? It's got the right vitamins and nutrients. Fruit for breakfast is a great thing, except most people's bodies are so acidic that their environment is any additional sugar is just like adding pure acid to it, and it's bringing more microbes to it. So some fruits are more sugar-filled. They have a higher glycemic load. Some have a lower. Some of you heard about glycemic index. All that is when that sugar comes into your system, how much does your blood sugar spike? And so what you want, if you're going to do this, is you want foods that are going to be fruits that are less spiking in that area if you're going to have fruits. But I tend to have for breakfast, I tend to have greens. I have different things for my body. Or I'll have a protein shake, but I've done all of the other pieces. In the protein shake, I put my oils in it, right? Or I'll have a salad, which I know will sound insane to most of you because it sounded insane to me in the beginning, but I'll have some broccoli in a salad, and I'll have some little piece of protein, at my breakfast, so that I'm sustaining those elements. It's an alkaline base that's gonna make your life really go to a different level of energy. That's what you're gonna commit to do. All those wanna do that, say aye.